Hello everybody, Reggie Time here and Happy New Year to you all. This is my first video of 2025 and as you can maybe see it's a bit different to what I've been doing usually. Um, as you know now, most is going to be a very quick intro by the way because I've got 15 hands to get through. I mostly play app game poker now in a pretty damn soft private club. Um, I've tried playing some games on the side. In the new year, I played on Party Poker, Bet365, etc. And I think I'm that used now to playing in like um, more passive, anti, like generally playing bigger pot poker games that just playing like six max, no anti versus a bunch of shit regs, nit regs, etc. It just doesn't hold my attention. It's boring. I did okay on Party, but then I imported the hands. Since I'd paid $57 in rake, something like that, and hadn't even reached the $5 rake back milestone. Um, so that's shit from Party Poker. They've completely fucking ripped their reward system apart. Then I played on 365, and the games there are really good, loose and splashy. Five max, fun games, but there was just so many fucking fish with just buying for the minimum like 30 bigs, and quite often you'd be at a table with one shit reg yourself and two or three fish, each with like 25, 30, 40 big blinds. And again, it's it's boring. I'm much preferring playing like deeper stacks versus wider ranges, etc. And just really getting in there and getting your hands dirty. It's taken me back to like the old school way of playing poker back in the day before the advent of solvers and fast fold and everyone becoming a fucking massive nit. And I really like hugely enjoy my poker at the minute, but I'm not enjoying the formats that most mainstream sites provide. Like in the club we play in, we have six max and eight max tables. We have two big blind ante. We have optional straddles. Um, we have like a max buy-in of 250 big blinds. We have the seven deuce off game going. It's just a recreation of live poker basically, and that's what I've been saying. Anyone who's watched my channel for years or been in various communities with me will say that the way to make poker more fun, make it more interesting, is just to try and replicate live poker more. And that's what we do in the club. And this isn't a club spam video. As you can see, there's 15 hands of GG here. And just trying to explain like what I enjoy about poker now and what I don't enjoy. These are from 10 and LGG anti-tables. I put some money in there last night because, as I said, I was bored playing everything else. And I've dabbled on and off with these anti-tables for a while. I haven't really landed on a strategy of how to play them yet, but over Christmas, I watched quite a lot of Hungry Horse Poker. I made some videos about Hungry Horse at the tail end of last year. I think his site is fucking brilliant or his YouTube videos is really, really good for like semi-serious and recreational players. He just puts some really simple guidelines in place of how to play many, many common situations. And it's really quite easy to execute. I'm not executing it perfectly, not as well as him, and maybe not quite as he teaches, but I reckon I'm like 85% of the way there. And it makes poker really quite simple in a lot of ways. It doesn't make it any less annoying, it doesn't make it any less like frustrating or what have you, but it just makes everything cleaner the way he's been teaching the game. And I'm a big fan of him. Again, I'll put a link beneath the video to his channel because you should really do yourself a favor and watch some of his stuff. I actually watched 3 or 4 videos specifically about playing out of position, playing multi-way, etc. And it's really helped me formulate a strategy that is really simple but really quite easy to execute. And hopefully we'll see some of that coming out in this video. So without further ado, let's get stuck into the hands. Um, we've got Queen Jack suited here. We have a 36-16. We're having this basic HUD up because um, you can import hands from GG, of course, but you can't build up samples on people. I may have had more information at the table than this HUD is giving, because when you join the table, it gives you that player's history at the table, whereas this just collects the data from when I was at the table. So I may have known more about a player at the time, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be good enough. We get a call from the button who's clearly shaping up to be recreational player. Call from the small blind. And we have options here straight away. We can squeeze, or we can just call. We're clearly never folding our hand. I think both are fine options. We can definitely make some better hands fold here. When we squeeze, I'm not too worried about the button or the small blind having particularly strong ranges, but the small blind does have the kind of stat when if we squeeze to, I don't know, 18 big blinds here, he can back raise shove, and then we'd have like a side call. I don't remember this specific hand, so just wait and see what we've done. I'm fine with either squeeze or call. I don't really have a preference. I did go with squeeze this time to 20. And we get called by the button, and the small blind folds. We flop ourselves top pair, reasonable kicker. We now have an SPR of less than 4. So we're probably going to be gearing up to play a big pot here, I imagine. That top pair, good kicker in a squeeze pot versus a very capped range. And we also block top set. Again, on this flop, I can go either way depending on any reads I may or may not have on the villain. The more aggressive they are, the more I'm likely to check. The more passive they are, the more likely I am just to use like a small bet size, like less than half pot. I go with the small bet size here, and the villain calls. Turn 8, which isn't a great card for our range. It's actually, in my opinion, quite good for a range that goes call. I think some hands like 10-8 suited. Well, there's not many hands that have improved, but like 10-8 suited may have improved. Queen 9 suited, although we block it, it's just improved. 9-7 suited, although it shouldn't really exist, just improved. I'm not too worried about this card having us beat, but I am a little bit concerned that if we keep betting and the opponent doesn't go away, we end up like forcing them into having too many strong hands in their range. But that said, we've now got an SPR of like less than 2, and we've still got top pair, and we still have a good shot. I see myself probably checking this most of the time, but not with the intention of folding. I know my game pretty well. I'd be surprised if I bet again here. We do check, and villain checks back, and we river a pretty fucking dusty 2 pairs. Obviously now any 9 beats us. I don't know what the correct line would be here. I think maybe just check and decide based on bet size, fold to big bets. Call versus smaller bets, maybe. I think checking is the right play, though. It's just not a good board for our squeeze range from the big blind. I'm not really that worried about being balanced and like repping X, Y, and Z. I just think it's a spot where we need to check again and then decide based on villain's action. Did what we do, and villain just checks back. And we won the pot versus King Jack. We actually rivered him. A little bit surprised that the King Jack didn't bet the turn in the hands of a recreational player. They love to fucking do like mergy bets versus checks. But yeah, we'll take that. Chalk that down as a nice win. On to the next hand. Pocket 8. We're dodging about on the seats. That's a bit unfortunate, but it's fine. So I do remember this hand. This player, I have a note on them from my previous attempts playing full ring, and that note is they use this large size and fold a lot, which is quite a good note to have. So we have the pocket 8s here. Given he's put 8 blinds in, given I think we have fold equity, I think I ended up 3-betting the 8s here. I don't know how much I like it. I guess I was just putting all my eggs in the... Let's see if we did 3-bet first of all. Yeah, I did. I guess I just put all my eggs in the... He does this a lot and forced to 3-bets. He has other sizes too pre-flop. He also has limps. So I think this is pretty reliable on this guy, that when he does this, he is just like massively overfolding. So I don't hate it as an exploit, but there's like still 4 players to go behind us who could all wake up with hands. When we get a jam from somebody playing a 90B pip, so we just have to call it off. Right, okay. What I wanted to do here was just show hands where we played every street all the way to the river. I've clearly set the filter up wrong because This is just going to show a boring old all in pre-flop, so whatever. He had Jack 9, good for him. Right, on to the next hand. Kings here in the small blind, facing 2 limps. Just big ISO raise, please, Reg. We make it 12. We get 2 calls. We get the Jack, Jack, Deuce flop. I think we're just going to check range here, opposition to 2 players. We get a half pot bet from a 63 VPIP. I think just calling here. I think anything else would be a criminal overplay or an underplay. I think our hand's clearly way too good to fold. We're not strong enough to raise, I don't think. Even though like these half pot C bets or these half pot bets typically from like fishy weak players are very, very immersion. This could easily just be a hand like pocket sixes, deuce X, what have you. You see this an awful lot in the app games where you get like really like casual recreational players who honestly don't really know what they're doing, to be honest. And then when they're using like these half pot sizes, it's mergy as fuck. One thing it isn't very often is a bluff. There are some bluffs in there, but they're under bluffing. Like most players under bluff. So I think this size is typically under bluffed, but it does contain quite a lot of like weak made hands that really have no business betting, but they just do it anyway. So I think we have a really natural, easy check call here. That's what we do. Turn 10 of diamonds, continuing checking. And now your man checks back. So I think we have the best hand a lot of the time here. It looks very much to me like pocket sevens, pocket sixes, pocket nines, all those types, like under pairs to the jack, maybe some random ace hand that just decided it wanted to bluff. Or bet for protection, or fuck knows what, just bet for no good reason. Check through. Then the ace on the river is really quite inconvenient. We could go with block here, but I think we just get folds from all the hands that bet the flop that we were ahead of. Because we look like we can have a lot of ace X when we bet this river, so therefore we're just going to get too many folds from all the under pairs under the jacks. So I think we probably just have to check again, which you want to do. And now your man bets 30 big blind, which again, it seems fucking mergy. The problem is it can be merging with hands like ace 5 here. We need 21% equity to call according to the software. Is this player bluffing more than 21% of the time? I suspect maybe not. Are they value betting worse and bluffing combined? 21% of the time, it'll be close. I think we probably have to call, but I don't expect to see the chips sliding my way very often. We did call. And yeah, they did had a shitty, weird merge on the flop, check back turn, and then value bet river. Nice hand to them, I guess. Next hand, ace king. This isn't right because we've opened before they've done that, so I don't know what's going on here. Maybe it's buggy a little bit. Oh no, hang on. Those chips out in front of me, they're the anti-chips. I thought randomly I'd raised 350 before that, but they're the anti-chips. We've based a 3x raise here from someone playing 18-8. Games are riddled with players like this. I don't even know that ace king should be a 3-bet versus somebody playing 18-8, to be honest. I think it's a hand we should definitely VPIP, of course. But I don't know how good it is to 3-bet this hand versus someone who's clearly a very extreme nit. But we did it. And we got called. Flop comes down king 9-3. They check. We're just going to range bet. They call. Turn is a spade. They check. All of a sudden, I don't want to play my hand for 3 streets of value versus someone played 18-8. I think we're just going to get too many folds from hands we're beating. I think it's just going to be a criminally overfolded spot by hands that ace king is beating. But at the same time, I'm saying that now, I'm also thinking it's not a spot I would really like to bluff in. I think there's going to be a lot of like queen, queen, jack, jack, 10-10 with a spade in their range here that isn't going to fold. So maybe in hindsight, I should just bet this again for like another like range betty type size. I didn't. I checked back. And then river, we have like a really nitty fish leading into us for like whatever that is, 2/3 pot, whatever it is, something like that, isn't it? Again, this is going to be hypermergy. It's going to be significantly underbluffed. But, we beat some value. We beat King Queen, for example. We beat King Jack suited if that's in there. I mean, we can't fold given the line we've taken. But again, we need to win this 28% of the time. We need to beat value because there's just going to be no bluffs there, or very, very few bluffs. If I was just purely bluff catching here, I would never call this hand because there's just nowhere near enough bluffs for us to win 28% of the time. But we're value catching too, so I think we need to call, and we do. And the Nitfish just has the 10-8 suited, so it's hard to figure these players out because there's loads and loads of players who play like 13-5 and 20/7 and what have you, but they still have like random holdings like this now and again that you just like, well, how do they have that? I guess sometimes just boredom kicks in or what have you. But yeah, it's not a thing. It's not an open that position. It's not a defend versus a 3-bet, but we're playing against bad players, and that's not to say I'm a brilliant player, but I'm certainly got a decent edge on this field, I would imagine. And yeah, these things happen. Next hand, ace-5 of diamonds. We open. We get a call from a big blind who looks like some kind of like tight reg. 15, 10, 4. Very typical stats for this game. We flop ourselves a nice flush draw. Check. I think just bet small. This is one of the things that I've like learned, or not learned, but picked up from Hungry Horse that I really fucking like. Just bet small in position. And in old school terms, bet small, find out where you're at. He phrases it slightly differently. Bet small, force them to raise off their strong stuff and call with their weak stuff, which is basically the same thing. It's just another way of saying bet to get them to define their range, bet to find out where you're at, etc. It's just phrased in a way that isn't bet to find out where you're at. And you don't necessarily find out where you're at. If you do get raised, it's not like you're folding. You're like, right, okay, I'm behind, but I've got a lot of equity. So we're going to just bet small here, see what happens. Ruin calls. Turn 4, he checks. And again, I think just bet, force him to raise the strong stuff, call with the weak stuff, and then set up some nice river bluffs. Because another part of like the strategy that he really advocates is if they just like cap themselves twice, by the time they get to the river, they just don't have very many strong hands anymore when they just check call versus 2 small bets. So then you can go for some really like highly exploitable big boy river bets. It's a really fun strategy to try and deliver, and it just works really quite well. So again, we go with we've actually sized up here. Surprised I've sized up. I expect to see myself go around 8 big blinds here, half pot, something like that. So I'm surprised I've sized up here, but whatever. We have done, and we've been check raised. So now I'm wishing I had bet smaller because we are in trouble here. And we're very, very, very obviously behind. That the turn check raise is literally one of the most underbluff lines in all of poker. So this player's just got, I'd imagine, sets plus here. King Jack, set of 4s that he's turned. I expect bigger sets to check raise the flop at quite a decent frequency. Maybe a straight would wait for a turn to check raise. But we need 30% equity here, and we've got a draw to the nuts. We're not getting the correct direct odds, but I think we do have good implied odds to win an entire stack when we hit a diamond. We can't fold, clearly. And we don't. And we river not the nuts, but basically the nuts, isn't it? And now your man checks, and we have slightly over pot left. Just easy jam, of course. And your man folds. So we didn't get our implied odds this time, which is a shame. But still, nice pot to drag down. Next one, King, Queen suited. We open from hijack. We pick up a call from a 50, someone playing on these stats 53-0. Would have been different at the table, more than likely. And we get 2 more callers from the blinds. We flop pretty nicely. We get donked into. And these multi-way donks are usually going to be a lot stronger than heads-up donks. We're clearly not folding our hand. It's whether we want to raise here and just like run our equity, or just call and try to realize in position. I think versus a small bet, in hindsight, I prefer call. What I did in game, I'm not sure. It's 2011 over 81. Again, he's not going to be bluffing at the particularly high frequency here, but he will be merging quite a lot. He might have some random fucking 10x, like a slightly worse flush draw, slightly better flush draw maybe. So I think we can raise here. I think calling's fine too. We do go with raise this time, and we get called. Turn a pair. He checks. I think versus a range at bet calls a flop, our hand's probably going to be good most of the time here. I think we probably want to just keep putting money in the pot. If we get check raise, it kind of stinks a little bit because, you know, we're going to be behind his value range, but we're going to have a ton of equity. So I think I'd prefer just continuing to build the pot here, but let's see what I did. Don't like that. I was probably put off by the fact he's 2011 and passive. Well, I think we should just reopen the bet in there. Deuce on the river, he checks, and now I think we have an absolutely crystal clear value bet. And I am doing a lot more over betting on rivers now as bluffs. So I don't think this is too thin to overbet this river, especially given the draws I've missed, and he might just be a hero with 10x or what have you. We've got like 2 and a bit pots left. I've got 175% pot button. I wouldn't hate to see me use that. I wouldn't hate to see a jam, and I wouldn't hate 2/3 pot either, like 70%. Just bet something, Reg. We went with 2/3. He called, and he had 9-10. So yeah, just typical as we said, just a shitty little mergy bet, a hand that shouldn't betting and then getting itself in trouble. And I see this an awful lot in the club I'm a member of too. It's one of the more frustrating things to adjust to as someone who's like played a long time and like got how the game should be played baked in his brain, seeing lots and lots of players just playing way out of line in terms of like theoretically incorrectly, and then sometimes just not knowing what to do about it can be frustrating, it can be tiresome, but it's all part of the fun of playing in much softer games. And you just as someone who's there trying to play for profit, you've just got to get on with it and deal with it and like, right, okay, how does this particular player construct their range? Because everyone's different. I think there's a general consensus, like a general line of bet size equals hand strength with most players. There obviously are some exceptions, but typically these like half pot, less than half pot donk bets are normally weak made hands just betting for the sake of betting. And once you get that read on somebody, you can exploit them pretty fucking hard. Next time we have 9-10 offsuit. We complete the small blind. Checks through. We flop an open ender. Check, check. Bet less than half pot. I think just call here. Maybe raise sometimes. 37-0 fish again. Maybe just attack this size because it's going to more than likely be a pretty weak mid hand doing it. So I wouldn't hate raise here. I think call's fine too. We do go with call this time. Turn break. I think we could sometimes lead this turn in theory, but we just don't have very much 4x in range. Like 4x of diamonds would be like really the only 4x we have. So I think probably just check in, which is what we do. He bets again, but look at the size. This is just like a jack all fucking day. Maybe even worse than a jack, like pocket sevens or something. I think this gives us a green light to just bluff here. Did what we do. Building calls. River brick. I think when he bet calls turn, he's going to just have a ton of draws in range. Like flush draws, 8-7 suited, ace-x suited, king-x suited, etc. And we don't have to bet huge here to make those types of hands fold. I also am less of a fan of overbetting when I'm out of position. I much prefer doing it in position when I'm much more confident villain's capped. I think this villain's pretty capped here to like Queen X at best, a lot of Jack X that just doesn't believe in flush draws. But I think yeah, if we're only trying to make King High and Ace High fold, we don't need to bluff too big, and we clearly can't check. So I do go with, I mean, it looks like a big bet. It's 44 big blinds, but in relation to the pot, it's not that big. I think we could go even smaller, to be honest. I think this is too big for what we're trying to achieve. I think we could definitely just go like maybe even 40% here, because we are just trying to get Ace High and King High to fold. This is not a particularly efficient bluff. It's just I've spent too much on this bluff. We did get called, and we got called by King Queen. Ace King offsuit. We get a raise from a reggish looking player. We 3-bet the button, too small. I just typically hit by 70%, because on GG, when someone enters the pot ahead of you, it goes from being able to make your raise size in big blinds, 2% of the pot. Anyone who plays on GG will know that. And my post-op sizing schemes at the minute are 40, 70, 100, 175. So I just hit the 70% pot. It's too casual. I think it needs to be bigger here. This probably needs to be up to like 13 big blinds or something. So this is a mistake from me. 10-10 jack flop, check, just going to bet range. What we do, he calls. Turn 7, check again. I think we have showdown value here versus something like Ace Queen, King Queen. I think if he's got pairs, he's unlikely to fold them. I think we probably get hands like pocket fives, pocket sixes to fold with a double barrel. So maybe it's worth doing just for that. We still also get some value from Ace Queen. So maybe we just bet again, like a little bit of denial or fold equity against slightly better hands. A little bit of value / denial from slightly worse hands that are still going to call. Yeah, I think on balance, probably double barrel, but I wouldn't hate check back. We do go with the double. He calls. River 9. It's a pretty diabolical card to triple on. I think we're just going to get looked at way too often. I'd probably check back aces here. I think like bottom of range for value betting here is probably going to be like an ace 10 type hand, king 10 type hand. And even then, I'm not loving it with the 4-liner on board. But I think I probably would still value bet trips here. What straights do we have? King, Queen, yeah. Yeah, I think like maybe like King 10's bottom of value range here. And what bluffs would I have? Probably want a Queen in my hand to bluff here, I think. Like when we block King, Queen with the King. I don't know. But I think giving up here is going to be okay. I think like maybe, I don't know. Maybe this hand does want to bluff because it does block King, Queen. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not good enough at figuring out how blockers work to say whether I think this hand wants to bluff or not. Is this hand a better bluff than King, Queen or not? I think it's a worse bluff than King, Queen. But I'm not going to pretend to talk, and I'm not going to pretend to talk about and understand stuff. Pretend I understand stuff that I just don't. I think this hand just gives up. And your man had pocket threes. I mean, his call on the turn is really not very good, but good for him. He won the pot. Pocket kings. We get a min open. We've had a post over here. I've gone with this size, which is me actually looking at what's gone on rather than just using the 70%. So we like that. We pick up a call behind from a 19/6. Here I'm just going to check my range out of position, I think, and look to check call and check raise depending on which hands I have. Your man checks back. Turn 3, which is a brick. Are you all right, my love? What are you looking for? I don't know. It's just buzzing around being a fucking menace. So yeah, I lost track of time. I lost track here. I think we should probably just bet now, which we do. He calls. And I think probably value bet river 2. I remember this hand. And I decided to check and bluff catch against like ace X that just didn't believe on the turn, flush draws, etc. But I think just betting this hand's a lot better. I think like he's just going to call with way more hands he's going to bluff with. This is a blunder from me because we check. They now bet like whatever that is, 2/3 pot or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, I don't like it. I butchered this hand basically. We do call, of course, and yeah, not my finest hour. Kings again, we open. We get 3-bet by under the gun +1, which is pretty fucking strong in these games. I do not want to 4-bet kings in this exact setup, so I didn't. 8 queen 2 flop, which is a pretty bad flop because one of the hands you hope they've got is queens, and now it's ahead of us. I think ace queen still exists. Aces, ace queen, queens, maybe jacks. Not much though. This range is incredibly narrow, you would imagine. You check, they bet 1/3 pot, which seems pretty normal to me. We call. Turn 4, we check again. They now size up to getting on for 80% pot, nearly 75% pot. We still can't fold, but I'm deeply, deeply, deeply uncomfortable. We call again. River 7 of spades, we check, and if they jam, I think we have a pretty easy fold. I mean, it's just going to be the most underbluff spot ever. Full ring, under the gun plus virtually under the gun +1, 3-bet pot where the pre-flop 3-bet has tripled off. It's just going to be the easiest fucking fold of all time. We just wouldn't be any value whatsoever, and the bluffs just don't exist, or not enough anyway. We did check. He checked back, and he actually did have a hand this time that was bluffing. He had the 10-9 of diamonds, and I think he probably, well, I don't know. Does he need to fire that river? I mean, he's got 10 high. Maybe he bluffs it if the backdoor spades don't get there, but we just not going to have very many flushes there at all with the queen of spades out. We have maybe like ace jack of spades, ace king of spades, maybe king jack of spades. We have like maybe 4 or 5 flushes maximum there. And we have loads of hands like this that are just fucking waiting to fold. So I think he missed a bluff there, but we won the pot, and that's nice. Ace queen, limp, ISO, cold call, cold call, fold. Quads, check range, out of position to 2 players, checks through. Turn 4, we just need to start betting now. We don't expect to win we don't expect to win a lot more very often, but we start try to build a pot. Fold, call, river again, just bet. We can't overbet here, I don't think. Maybe we can, but I think we're going to get too many folds. We want to get called by full houses here that are just like not believing. We bet, we get called, and your man had king 4. Beautiful. We've raised king 9 suited. Early position. This might be a bit loose, but you can get away with it in these games, in my opinion. I have looked at like 7 max anti-range charts. That's the closest thing GTO Wizards really got. And this is probably too wide. I haven't looked at a chart after playing this hand, but it's probably too wide. But like the 3-betting in this game just doesn't come in unless it's like really fucking premium. It's narrow and it's polarized as fuck. So I'm comfortable opening some hands that shouldn't exist really. But then when we get 3-bet by a 32-11, it's really not fun. But they've made it way too fucking small. This guy's come along. We need 18% equity pre-flop, and we've got position. We just can't fold. So we call, we flop trips, which is nice. This player now leads into us. We have an easy jam because this is just going to be aces, queens, etc. all day. They call it off. And they had jacks. Again, I didn't want to show these silly hands. I wanted to show hands where we had river decisions, but they snuck through the filter, sadly. Here we have a loosish, aggressive-ish player opening under the gun. We have this player. We're just calling here in position from the core. Probably not a thing in theory, but I think in practice it's fine. We flop 2 pairs. Check, check. Don't think we want to reopen here. I think this player should probably be checking his entire range. This player probably isn't checking his entire range, but getting check raised here would be bad news. We don't have a 3-street hand yet, in my opinion. So checking back's fine. Turn 10. So we turn the second nuts. We now get led into. I think this is just going to be, again, pretty mergy range. It's going to be very value / denial driven, I would imagine. Then we just want to raise. Just hope they've got a 10, hope they've got a flush, hope they've got a good queen, etc. We do raise. We get called. River 9. They check. We've got 1.75 pots left. We put the money in, just hope they call. Hope they got something to call with. They do. And they did indeed flop a flush. So good news for us. King, queen. What's happened here? Sorry. Been a limp and an ISO, and then we 3-bet. I don't love the size I've taken here. I don't mind the 3-bet against someone who's playing pretty loose aggressively, and ISO'd a limp. But I think our size should be a bit bigger, but it is what it is. We flop nothing. Check, check. I think versus 2 players, I'm just going to check back. I think versus 1, I would just clearly range bet. I think versus 2, I think fold equity isn't high enough. We do have backdoor flush draw on a gut shot though, so maybe bluff. But I didn't. Turn deuce, check, check. These ranges are very capped now. I think probably bluff. Just try and get folds from pocket pairs, etc. We do bluff. We get called. River brick. He checks again. I think that top of range here is going to be stuff like ace 10 suited. I think ace queen probably leads the turn. So we're looking at stuff like ace 10 suited, ace 9 suited. Plenty of jack X, I imagine. Maybe some hands like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, which didn't believe. But I think we have a pretty mandatory bluff here. I think we can even get some ace X to fold. I think just all in and just try and apply max pressure. Oh, Reg. That's weak. That's not in line with what I'm trying to do. I actually remember this hand, and I'll be honest with you, I did just bottle it a little bit. Yeah, this is not clever from me. I mean, we had the best hand, we had the winner. I think, thinking back now, there was a bit of bottling in it, but there's also a bit of he check and absolutely snap called the turn. I mean, it was instant. And we all know that the snap call is just never a particularly strong hand. So maybe in the back of my mind, it was like we beat some draws, we have showdown value, but that'll just be me making excuses for bottling it. If I'm playing in line with the strategy and trying to execute, this is just a river shove. And I didn't do it. I bottled it and got away with it. 2 10s. Open, we call. There's plenty it's going to be loads of calling in these games with the antes. It's not a game where you must play 3-bet or 4 pre-flop. Here we get led into for small. Looks like a range bet. Easy call. Turn a boat, which is delightful. Get led into again this type of half pot, slightly bigger percentage of the pot. This is going to be quite a lot of value that's just doesn't really know what to do in terms of sizing. I think quite often, having been called on this flop and then this turn coming, probably just defaulting to checking your entire range might be easier strategy to execute and deliver long term. But this player's gone with the lead. We're just going to call and hope they get whatever they need. The pairs on the river. And now they bet again. And again, it's slightly sized up again. We're clearly just going to be all in. We lose to Jack Queen of Diamonds. We lose to Quad Nines. We lose to Pocket Kings. If he's got any of them hands, then good for him. We're clearly just going to be all in. And we got called by King Jack. So our call on the turn paid dividends there. And happy days. And that's the end of the video. I'm not making any promises because you know what I'm like. I flit around. But I'm really hoping to play just for fun a lot of these 10NL games going forward. And then if we do well, maybe play some 25NL. It's not a challenge. It's not anything. I just love to play poker and I love to make videos. And I'm still a for-profit player. But the way my life is set up now financially, I don't need to play for profit. I could just play purely like casually, recreationally, while still trying my very hardest. But there's no pressure on me to make money from playing at the minute. I've got my job, I've got like the interest in the app club, etc. So I don't really care what stakes I play, to be honest with you. I just want to play poker, whether it's 10NL, if it's 20NL in the app, if it's 40NL, if it's 100NL. Really don't care. I just want to play poker and enjoy playing and play a lot. It's my hobby, it's my passion, it's what I want to do. So I'm hoping to make more of these videos where we actually get to see the streets played out. Because I enjoy making them and hopefully some of you enjoy watching them. But that's it for this video. Don't know when I'll be back with the next. Guess the more I play, the more videos I can make. I'll also still do some from the app, but only like do hands where they've been interesting, where we've got to rivers and we've got options. None of the, oh, look at this guy, this fucking, loose players just paid me off with 6-3 off or what have you. All that's kind of dull. So yeah, I'm going to try and just make videos where I could talk about my strategy and hopefully give some of you guys who are weaker players something to think about and something to help you improve a little bit. So yeah, I'm out of here now. Hopefully in an hour's time, I'm going to watch Liverpool absolutely thrash Manchester United. But yeah, it's time for me to go. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching and bye-bye for now.